Hoosier Nation, check one, check one. We're going to get started in about 5 minutes. So please get some drinks, get some food, and find your way to a seat. We're going to get started here in about 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you. All right, this is your second call. This is your second call. Hoosier Nation, back there, Jack Wax, can you hear me? If you could go ahead and please find your seat, I would appreciate it. We're going to get started here in just a second. Mike Trotsky, calling Mike Trotsky. We're trying to get everybody to sit down. I'm calling you out. Hi, Sue. Good to see you. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes, so please find your way to a chair and we'll get started. Thank you. Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me in the back? Val, can you hear me? Yep. If everybody could grab their seat, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're super excited to have you with us today. My name is John Berda, and welcome to the 5th annual IU Founders and Funders Network Ventures Summit. And I'm so honored to be here. And let's just start off with a round of applause. Thanks for everybody being in the house. Welcome to Memorial Stadium. Isn't this room something else? I couldn't think of a better place to be together as we think about what Indiana is building. I want to take a moment to acknowledge everybody that's joining us on the live stream right now. Hoosier Nation, 800,000 plus strong, stretching across the globe. So if you're watching from Chicago, if you're watching from Boston, if you're watching in New York or Austin or the Bay Area, Hong Kong, Mumbai, or anywhere across Hoosier Nation, welcome. We are glad that you're here. The IU Founders and Funders Network is a world-class venture ecosystem, and it rests inside one of the most powerful alumni networks in the world. And today and tomorrow is about activating that network in support of IU students, in support of IU faculty, and support of IU alumni. And honestly, a lot of the best of that network is in this room right now. Before we get started, a few quick notes. If you're looking for the Wi-Fi, check out IU Guest on the Wi-Fi. No password is needed. And then one program note for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Hoosier Startup Session is going to be in Alumni Hall. Due to popular demand, we needed to move it back into a bigger space, so we're super excited about that. A quick look at the rest of today as we kick off. Today's showcase runs until 3:30. At that point, we have 2 incredible experiences for you. We have a behind-the-scenes tour of this stadium, home of your 2026 National Championship Hoosiers. Let's go. We don't want you to miss it. We also have a trades district tour. Where's John Fernandez? John Fernandez is going to be helping with that tour. We're building an incredible ecosystem here in Bloomington with a lot of partners, and we want to showcase off all the best of Bloomington has to offer. So we're super excited to welcome you to that. Let's see. Then tonight, as we close out day one, if you don't know where Nick's is, it's on Kirkwood. Raise your hand if you're not sure where Nick's is. Hopefully you know how to find us there. We'll be there at 6 o'clock, happy hour. We'll have some pizza, some onion rings, and it is this. I know I'm getting old because it gets really loud in there, so get ready to have a good time tonight at Nick's later tonight. A couple of heartfelt thanks. There's always a bunch of people behind the scenes who are toiling and doing the work that make this all possible, and so I always feel compelled to just give them some shout outs. So Lynn Waugh, Patsy Hendrickson, Brandy Clerk, Kirk Dunbar, the IMU catering team, the Henke Hall catering team, the folks that put the chairs out, the folks that are serving us today. If we could just give them a round of applause and express our gratitude for their service today. Thank you. And none of this happens without the support of the organizations who believe in what we're doing. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't give a special shout out to Ryan Damar of Western Alliance Bank. Ryan's an proud IU alum. And then Larry Tomlin of Amundsen Davis Attorneys. Larry, thank you guys so much for your support. We've been showing the sponsors around the room throughout the day. So Audrey Wessel at Gutwein Law, Jared Luger's Limestone Strategic Partners, Eric Christopher from TechPoint, Toph Day and Matt Tyner from Elevate, Amira Mahmood and the Venture Club of Indiana, Harlan Schaefer and Bob Thomas at HCC, John Wexler, Spoke Note, John Fernandez, Amplify Bloomington, the Trades District, Tingu T at the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, Andy Lehman at 16 Tech, IU alumni Christy Wright with AgriNovus Velocity, Sam Ginther and Emily Atkinson at Crossroad Health Ventures, Vince Wong from BioCrossroads, Eric Steele and Martina Fausto with the Flywheel Fund. Thank you guys so much for your support and sponsorship. So let's get started to introduce the showcase and the extraordinary work of IU Innovates is doing to build the next generation of Hoosier entrepreneurs. I'd like to welcome the Executive Director of IU Innovates, Julie Heath, to the stage. Julie came to us from the IU Economic Development Corporation, where she developed Indiana's first statewide entrepreneurship ecosystem strategy and helped the state achieve historic levels of support for startups. Before that, she led the Speakeasy in Indianapolis, Indianapolis' first nonprofit co-working space for entrepreneurs, and she has spent her career removing barriers for founders at every stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please join your hand and welcome Julie Heath to the stage.
Welcome. Good. Welcome to our startup community here at IU. This is the deal. We help each other. And what do we do in helping each other? Our students move through this learning and launch journey. Any major, any school, any campus. We had over 295 student entrepreneurs just this semester in our boot camp and our incubator. And here's the trick. They run it too. The students and the recent alumni, they built what they wanted in a boot camp and an incubator. And this learning journey, learning to scope problem spaces, really hard problems, and then do that first aesthetic prototype, napkin drawing, Figma drawing, talk to a whole bunch of users as you build the functional prototype and that MVP. Nusha, I'm looking at you. I think you had 327 interviews by the time you were building your MVP. Is that right? I'm getting the thumbs up. And then you get traction. Someone opens their wallet and says, yes, that solves my pain point. That solves the problem. And guess what? When you have enough traction, then you can create your own job. That's an expanded definition of student success. If you're creating your own job by building a company of tomorrow, we're pretty excited about that skill set because it's also useful for a fast-changing professional landscape, which is what we have right now. And if you want to solve the hardest problems. If you want to solve the hardest problems, same learning journey. It's a big North Star. It's a big mandate. Let's figure out how we can do this together, because again, we help each other. And it's not possible without leadership, without the investment and the vision from leadership. So will you please help me thank and welcome to the stage President Whitten.
Thank you, Julie, for your leadership and for the energy that you bring to IU Innovates every day. So we're a couple years into this now, aren't we? 2 years, that's a couple years at this point. And I don't know if all of you appreciate how significant it is to have amazing leadership. And we are where we are today in large part because we have Julie Heath. If you appreciate that, can you let her hear how much you appreciate that? I also want to take just a second and thank our alumni entrepreneurs, our panelists, our mentors, our investors, our community members, and industry leaders who are all with us here today as well. Your time and your expertise and your energy really matter. You really show our students in particular that IU Network isn't just something that you join. It's just not something that's a check mark and that you say that you're part of. It's something that shows up for you. It opens doors and it helps students build. And that's the Hoosier way. And I'm so grateful and appreciative for all that you do for our students. And this is really just the beginning. I have to confess, I have a lot of favorite events every semester. I have a particularly lot of favorite events in SIG's house, which we all are now. I know all of you do as well. But this is one of my favorite events every semester because it puts our students and our student founders really at the very center of the universe, which is where you all actually belong. I think you're going to find that you have a pretty incredible program ahead of you today with some very special guests who get to see what happens when IU students stop waiting for permission and start building. And fortunately, our students aren't very patient. They don't wait very long. They start building right away as well. And speaking of special guests, I brought two with me today who are entrepreneurs and venture leaders in their own rights, Kay Koplowitz and Caitlin Stramberg. Kay is the founder and former CEO of Television's USA Networks and co-founder and chairman of Springboard Enterprises, which has helped women-led companies in technology, healthcare, and life sciences really grow and scale. Since 2000, Springboard companies have generated over $76 billion in value, including companies like Canva and Everly as well. She's joined by Caitlin, who's the founder and managing partner of Spring Ventures, and an early stage investor herself, working with founders building at the intersection of AI, health, and wealth. So if I could ask Kay and Caitlin to stand or wave so we could recognize them and give them an Indiana welcome. Where are they? There they are, right over here. Just had the good fortune of having a quick lunch with Kay and Caitlin, and I wanted them to see what we are building here at IU. So I brought them over to meet you and to experience the energy of IU Innovates, and I know they're going to be here for a while, and some of you might have the opportunity to individually go speak with them as well through the course of this afternoon. So at Indiana University, we talk a lot about impact, but it's not about just about the knowledge that we're creating. It's about what that knowledge makes possible, particularly through new companies, new products, new solutions, and new opportunities for people across Indiana and beyond. And that's the work that IU Innovates was built to do. So each of you is helping us build a true entrepreneurial ecosystem, one that connects the first spark of an idea into something real. And it's pretty amazing what's been done in just over 2 years with IU Innovates. Certainly built on some good work that had happened historically at IU, but we are really moving at warp speed now across the university. And so I think today's showcase really is that ecosystem that we're building. It's actually showing it in action. So I want to thank you to our students for applying yourselves, for taking risks, and showing the world what Indiana University is made of. We all know that entrepreneurship is rarely polished at the start. It's messy, and it's iterative, and it's full of trial and error, and that's why one of IU Innovate's most important messages is progress over perfection. Now, I'm honored to welcome today's keynote speaker, someone, I guess I could say, speaking of messy and trial and error, and always continuing to ascend and really take the patience and the time to never give up. And our keynote speaker today, I think, is someone who really exemplifies that in his career, the well-known Indiana University alum, Todd Wagner. Todd is here today not only because he's built extraordinary companies and initiatives, but because Todd is actually one of our own, an IU and a Kelley School of Business graduate who knows the power of pairing big ambition with practical execution. He regularly returns to campus to share his expertise and experience, and I have seen Todd in full rooms like this, and I've seen Todd one-on-one with our students as well. And so the way you give back purely and truly exemplifies what it means to be a Hoosier, and I'm grateful, and I know people are going to enjoy you today. So in true entrepreneurial style, Todd has brought a pitch video. In a moment, we're going to see a short video that's going to take us through the major chapters of Todd's career and reinforce once again that entrepreneurship, it's not a straight line. It's a series of bold starts, smart pivots, and smart ideas made real. So please turn your attention to the screen.
Wall Street has high expectations for this internet stock.
The darlings of the stock market.
It was the IPO heard round the world.
The stock rocketed on its debut.
One of the most successful IPOs of all time.
And by 4 o'clock, it soared to almost $63.
I think that was the day that you know your life's changed forever.
Introducing Charity Network, consisting of 2 of the leading online platforms raising money and awareness for cause.
Meet the band backstage, that's a date.
Charity Buzz, the leader in online charity auctions.
We're going to auction these off on CharityBuzz.com.
With more than 200,000 high net worth donors from over 100 countries, helping thousands of charities raise unrestricted funds year-round.
It's unbelievable. I think they're going to be kind of blown away.
Prizio, a leader in charitable sweepstakes and experiences for good.
Prizio, you know what I'm saying?
Enabling those of any income level the ability to participate and give.
It'll be an amazing night, and you're helping the planet at the same time.
hundreds of charity ambassadors, thousands of charity partners, and over $300 million raised to date, turning entertainment dollars into charitable dollars. Disrupting charitable giving for good.
Guys, this is a winner.
We have a nation that's chronically ill. 75% of our country is either overweight or obese. We have 38 million diabetics in our country. We have only 22% of our young people that can even enlist in the military because of obesity issues. It is a problem. Food Fight USA has three parts. One, to get federal legislation passed to stop self-regulation by food companies and clean up our tainted food supply. Two, to help consumers make more informed and empowered food choices. The third leg is solutions. We were very involved in passing the California Food Safety Act. I talked to Governor Schwarzenegger, and he said, "I will help you," which made it bipartisan.
California seeks to ban for ultra-processed food additives like brominated vegetable oil. None of that really sounds like food to me.
Then I met with Governor Newsom in Sacramento and asked him to please sign it. It was seminal. Why? Because it opened the door. Now there are 30 states in America with different kinds of legislation copycatting what California started. We launched the website foodfightUSA.com to educate people, to anger people, to ask them to question why known toxins banned in countries around the world have been put into our food supply for the last 40 years. Why are we the guinea pigs? They are doing regenerative farming in Europe today. Good for the environment, the animals, the soil. Join us. It's a food fight. It's time for people to have a voice. We're in it to win it.
Food Fight USA!
Welcome to the stage, Todd Wagner.
See President Whitten, I'll bet you didn't know all that. Good afternoon, everyone. Magic bullet. No guidebook that says do these 5 things and your startup will never miss. That seems to work out for some, and then folks like me get to stand up here. But if it hadn't worked, then I'm not invited to stand up here. So what gives? Are we all entrepreneurs just dying to get out? Or is it a more difficult path or journey? What if there was a blueprint or a guide? So let's start with this Teddy Forsman quote. This is the best quote I've ever seen describing entrepreneurs. I will not read it to you, but I will point out a couple of things. You know, constantly in conflict with convention, disturbing and irritating, unemployable, increasingly imitated when successful. And I'm going to refer back to this in my remarks. I'm a big fan of inspirational quotes. I have them all around me. I'm going to weave some of them into my remarks today to hopefully make it a little more interesting for you. So just who is an entrepreneur? Is it everyone who starts any kind of business? Are they all supermodels? Or is it an overused term? I would contend it's a vastly overused term. Starting a business is amazing. Being a business owner is amazing. But I believe the word entrepreneur should be more rarefied air, because disruptive is the key. Constantly in conflict with convention, from our quote. Back to our definition. Is Elon Musk disruptive but also irritating? To be clear, you don't need to be disruptive or visionary to make a lot of money. Hedge funds, law firm partners, there's a long list. And in fact, being disruptive or entrepreneurial might often lead to no money. It's a high beta, high risk game. But when it works, back to our quote, increasingly imitated when successful. But disruption, and I'm glad President Whitten is here, can happen in sports too, being entrepreneurial. So I'm going to talk about Indiana football for a second. Disruptive. President Witten and A.D. Dolson go out and hire a coach, not from the Power 5, which I guess is the Power 4 now, who had won at every level, from Division II to FCS, and in turn, he brought nearly his entire coaching staff, and 13, I think it is, of his players from his last school. New culture, disruptive. Went after older recruits that aren't 4 or 5 star recruits because, frankly, at that point, he couldn't have gotten them anyways. He picked players that have experience in college football, even at lower levels, in prior seasons, with actual touchdowns and rushing yards, not just potential from high school. That was in conflict with convention. That was where belief precedes results, from our quote up there. You know, Nick Saban didn't pick IU to win any of its football games. It just didn't make sense to him. It's hard for the old guard when things change, when their hammer and nail get disrupted, when what they know to be true just no longer is. IU was, back to our quote, an outsider to the establishment. Look, we're all excited about what IU football did last season, but let's think of it in terms of business. Why did it work? Why was it disruptive? Well, I rattled off a few reasons. Risky, for sure. But did IU football have lots of other options? Not really. Necessity is the mother of invention, of potential disruption. And when it works, increasingly imitated when successful. And trust me, IU is being imitated all over the country this year by programs itching to break through. So, students, you get a temporary pass on what I'm about to do next. But I have a 2-question test that I ask adults who want to be entrepreneurs. 1, are you willing to quit your day job? Oh, no, Todd, I just want to do it on weekends until it takes off. I don't want to put my career at risk. Wrong answer. I call that a hobby. 2, are you willing to put your own money in as well? No. I want to get those angel investors and those VC people I hear about to put their money in. Wrong answer. For me, see, I want it to hurt. I want it to hurt really bad if it fails, to create that additional amount of effort and drive to succeed. We will get to pairing that with aptitude in a minute to be all in. My own personal answer to those questions was yes. I quit my day job, put everything I had into it, all of my savings, my 401k, even a line of credit before I resigned. I was all in, like a pig versus a chicken, like bacon versus eggs. Plan B was for Plan A to work. Remember what I said at the beginning of my remarks. It's high risk. Now, Elon's is a little dramatic, but you get the idea. Like eating glass. Now, maybe I wouldn't have phrased it that way, but you get the point. No one would have hired me for what I ended up doing. Now, we're going to do a little 3 acts here. Act 1. You're convinced that you're the person I just described. You are an entrepreneur. Great. Companies go through life cycles, through stages, just as people do. When you are a pure startup or idea phase, and a lot of the folks presenting today, you can change your company completely in an afternoon. Why? Well, because there's an audience of 1 or 2. So be open to input and wisdom from others if a pivot or an iteration makes sense at this stage. That's why these experts are here. Do it. As companies grow, turning becomes more difficult. It's one of the great challenges of business. Look, I've seen it on all sides. When Cuban and I started, it was literally me and him in an upstairs bedroom. Time for another quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. To go far, go together. All of a sudden, you have 5 employees, then 50, then 500, then 5,000 with Yahoo. And you have shareholders and board members, so it's unavoidable that the dynamic changes. And then in our case, a public company to boot, and all the intensity and complexity that brings, the filings, the quarterly numbers, the hamster wheel. I only raise that because build it like it's going to be great, an elite company, that you're going to knock it out of the park. Like it's going to be the next broadcast.com or Google or Meta or Why Bother. So do it right. If you skip steps or do it with little attention to the details, it will certainly bite you later. ownership structure, org charts, IP, HR, marketing, fundraising, sales, product, engineering, AI. Each stage, what you do as your job description will change. Some founders adapt, others don't, and they end up being ousted founders. Others ride the roller coaster all around the track. As a company gets bigger, there's more rules, more things to be governed by. You'll sort out where your skill set is best, what stage or stages. So what's amazing to me about events like today and what IU is building here is it's like sports. You're getting your reps. Like Fernando Mendoza getting up at 6 a.m., I'm told, every Sunday morning last year to practice with one of his receivers, getting in extra reps to beat his competitors. Well, the same can be said for you in your business. Who wants it more badly? Who will do the extra reps, the extra meetings, the extra research, to live, eat, and sleep it, to be all in like the pig? Act 2. Being a professional and aptitude. These are two really important things to me to try to convey today. The next item to think about comes from Julie Andrews, one of the great singers of a generation. Some of you may not know her, but she was in a very famous movie called Sound of Music, Mary Poppins, and others. She once said, an amateur does things till they get it right. A professional does things till they can't get it wrong. So which are you? The amateur or the professional? Which do you aspire to be? Which one do you think is more likely to have a successful business and career? One of the things I always talk about is you want to be the smartest person in the room. Now, that comes from the very first documentary we did at 2929 Productions, which was about the fall of Enron, which we got nominated for an Academy Award, I might add, for it. And it was about the way they ran that business. But to me, the concept, whether it's streaming media, AI, or our tainted food supply, is I want to be deep, deep in the topic. You want to come in so well versed on a topic that you know it cold. I'm not saying there will never be insightful questions or comments from others, but if you're incredibly deep, you will see around corners. See things before others do, and not be defensive to probing conversations. So look for things you're passionate about and have an aptitude for. You need both to win. I can't stress this enough. Aptitude to me means something that just comes a little bit easier to you than others. You know what that is for you. Find it, nurture it, which means if you step on the gas with tremendous effort, you can really blow by some people because you have a built-in advantage, an aptitude, as our friend Fernando did. Look, I've been on both sides. As an investor, as the person running the business, I've been player, coach, and owner. I've played all the positions on the field, been a decathlete, which to me, a great CEO must be a decathlete, to play and understand all the positions. And you can always tell when people are underprepared or don't know it as deeply as they should, back to our Julie Andrews quote, an amateur, if you will, by when they get defensive or sometimes even upset when you pepper them with questions. It's not a hobby. This is not an episode of Shark Tank. If they're incredibly well-versed, then they enjoy the conversation, the chess match. It's interactive and productive, and that's a good thing, a healthy tension. Just know you will never have the perfect business plan or business strategy ever. No one ever does. I bet on tenacity, on heart, on drive, on the jockey, always, versus the perfect idea. Execution is always key, or you can drown in a sea of opportunity. You have to get in there, roll up your sleeves, make mistakes, pivot and iterate, prioritize, and execute. Remember, you are wildly prepared. You are a professional. So therefore, your instincts are good. Trust them. I did it with Food Fight USA as well. I learned it deeply, learned how it worked in the US, learned how it was different in Japan, Europe, and Canada, and around the world. Super deep. I've helped get 4 major pieces of legislation passed in California and New York in 3 years. Trust me, that's not simple. We have worked with dozens of states, governors, the FDA, Secretary Kennedy at HHS, by adding value, bringing ideas they hadn't thought of. One of my meetings with Governor Newsom, in fact, led to an executive order that he issued 2 months later. Seeing around corners, being a problem solver versus a problem spotter, or as Teddy Roosevelt would say, a whiner. So is the water glass half full or half empty? Entrepreneurs answer that by saying, why is it a glass? Who's pouring it, and why is it water? And I have learned in my career, be it in sports, media, technology, nonprofits, whatever the industry, it's the same set of questions, the same set of skills. Outwork your opponent. Finally, Act 3, AI. Yes, AI gets its own act. So finally, where are we today? You know, I talked briefly about AI earlier. This is a topic, let's face it, getting more controversial by the day. We're all seeing it. Here's my take. In the disruptive early days of the internet, it began with internet text, search engines like Yahoo, Lycos, Alta Vista. Some of you in the room will remember this, some of you have no idea. And it was gathering, organizing the world's information at your fingertips. It seemed life-changing, stunning. In theory, everyone now had access to all the world's information. Internet 1.0. But the game changer was when internet applications came next. Streaming media, broadcast.com, eBay, two-way marketplace, Amazon, and dozens of others. Phase 2.0, eventually social media, and more enormous change. For my generation, it was the internet. It rewrote the rules, it upset the apple cart, it was disruptive. Now it's AI's turn. Crypto, by the way, turned out to be a head fake, a false start, but AI is legit. We all know it's disruptive. We all know it will and is rewriting the rules again. Technology is like a freight train coming down a mountain. There is no stopping it. And technology, this is attributed to Gates, but it's a little different than that take, but technology never goes as far as you think in 1 or 2 years, but further in 10. And I think that's important. By my math, AI is celebrating its 10-year anniversary, by my math. In December 2015, Elon Musk, Sam Altman, and others started OpenAI. In 2018, GPT-1 was released. So, AI, first stage, 1.0. Better, more efficient search engines. Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, we all know their names. It's now analyzing and summarizing the world's information versus gathering and organizing it in the internet's early days. I can still do it by search, but this is faster, easier, more efficient, evolutionary, but not revolutionary, from 2015 to 2025. Different for sure. But AI, until early this year, my opinion, was still largely at the stage of context, prompting, iteration, and judgment. And that would be a separate speech, so I'll leave it at that. And we know that Claude is maybe a bit more academic, professorial, that Gemini is like our hip friend that spots trends, and ChatGPT is a great writer, a literary friend. And all of them were, and still are, trying to get mind share and market share, building huge data centers. Very controversial right now. Not much different than back in those early days of the internet. But it's now 10 years later. And what's happening now in what I call AI 2.0 is game-changing. With lightning speed now with AI applications. Simile, Figure AI, Hark, OpenClaw, and dozens and dozens and dozens of others. Agentic AI and all that it will bring. As an aside, I'm an early investor in Figure AI and Hark, as I was 15 years ago in SpaceX, with it set, as many of you know, to go public in June with a nearly $2 trillion valuation. When things work, that original quote we had up there, they really work. In the internet era, it begat companies like broadcast.com, eBay, Amazon, Google, and eventually companies like Meta and Snapchat. This will be no different. There will be behemoths whose names we don't even know yet, because young people are creating them right now. But trust me when I say it's early, and I'm looking at all of you folks here that are coming up entrepreneurs. The party is far from over, because almost any organization and industry you can name will be impacted, changed, disrupted, some quite deeply. And remember what I said in the opening, disruption, i.e. football, creates opportunity. As there will be new industries, new lanes to travel, it's not all doom and gloom. It's just we haven't seen around the corner yet. We are looking at this through the lens of today, the prism of today, not the world of tomorrow. We are in the first inning. I'm going to give you a couple examples to try to bring that to life. When TV started, it was much like radio. They didn't understand the new medium. The shows were just radio shows with a picture. When the internet started, it was replicating the old analog ways, not leaning into digital. AudioNet, our original name, was putting up radio stations. Pierre over at eBay was selling Pez dispensers. Bezos was selling books. Does it sound like we had this figured out? Each time everybody says it's different this time, and each time it doesn't turn out that way. I'm going to tell one other quick, I promise. But we were looking at making a movie about World War I, and that's why I had to learn a lot about it. And I was fascinated by it because World War I had new technology, but they fought the old war. They used trench warfare, even though they had tanks and airplanes, because they didn't know how to use it. So this is not a new thing. This is just new because every generation wants to hype it up. And let's face it, what gets attention right now is to talk about it. So change is truly the only constant in life or in business. The time is now for you in this space. Be excited for the future, not wary. So think of this event and what you're doing today as a crazy cool football camp. Go deep, get professional, get lucky. Enjoy the journey. It's never about the destination. And my final slide that I will leave you with, great success, in my opinion, is the four-way intersection of luck, timing, hard work, and smarts. But you can only control two of the variables. Thanks, everybody.
If you're a student, raise your hand, or a recent alum. I'm so proud of you. For everyone here, you're going to meet 22 of our student entrepreneurs today. You've either talked to them in the back of the room at their tables. You're going to hear 8 presentations up here. I'd like to thank our panelists. Notice, not judges. We're not picking winners. Our panelists are providing feedback. They are coaches. They are mentors. This is actually really hard. All of our students are stretching themselves outside of their comfort zones. And so we have asked our panelists to give them feedback, help, and we're going to actually put everyone in this room to work too because of this. This is our competitive advantage. Helpfulness, Hoosier helpfulness, and an alumni brain trust of 800,000. See, there's multiple types of capital, and thank you, Dave, for providing our prototyping capital today. The students have already received or will be receiving the financial capital. We're going to focus today, with your help, on the other two. Knowledge capital, know-how, sector-specific expertise, tacit knowledge, and social capital. Are you willing to make the introduction? So here's how it's going to work. At the end of every ask, our students are not asking for money. They're asking for an introduction. They're asking for your expertise. So, on your seat, you have a what do we call these? Brochure. Turn to the inside. There's a QR code. Every single one of our students is behind this QR code along with their ask. You can also use your phone to use this QR code to go straight to the form where you will be able to choose the student and offer your introduction or your advice. I mentioned this is about progress, not perfection. So did President Winton. We don't believe in just walk-up music. We believe in walk-up applause. So I'm looking at you. Sai and Girish, are you ready? Let's give Girish and Sai a huge round of applause.
Hello everyone, we are Deep Variants.
And we are reducing AI infra cost for companies by making their GPUs more efficient. Everybody uses AI nowadays, and AI demand is increasing steadily every year. Every time when you use AI, there are this data center of GPUs working together to answer you. And these machines are becoming one of the most expensive layers of the AI economy. Not just expensive, they're also straining on natural and man-made resources alike. That is why we wanted to make most out of these GPUs by making them efficient. Let us look at the AI stack and where GPUs sit. So on the top, we have the model layer, where there are AI applications that people interact on a day-to-day basis. Image generation, text generation, chat GPT, Claude Code, everything. On the layer below that, we have the framework. The software developers use these to develop and build these systems and run these systems. On the bottom layer, we have the hardware, the foundation of AI, which basically runs the AI models. These are very important because they do the heavy lifting of mathematics behind the AI. And here is the real problem. These devices are getting very expensive to run. And data center GPU demand is surging at 3.5 times between 2025 and 2030. And cost of running these AI workloads has already been increasing by nearly 3 times since 2016. And this is a vivid example of a sample data center. This has around 50,000 GPUs, consuming about $9 million worth of electricity every month. And added to that, there is water cost and carbon footprint as well. And here is the real problem. Do you know that there is this 43% of GPU capacity goes unused during AI inference? And most teams would optimize the model and the framework layer. But a lot of inefficiencies sits lower in the stack, where GPUs manage and execute the actual work. And when these companies need more compute, they don't just fix the inefficiency, but buy more GPUs so that they can accommodate the compute. And we wanted to fix this. We wanted to save millions of dollars for these companies. So we came up with a solution called Deep Variants. So Deep Variants is a software stack that is universal across any infrastructures, and it is proven that it improves the efficiency up to 24% by making your GPUs do more with less, because we have got it already covered it for you. And this is what Deep Variants unlocks in the sample data center case. About $360 million of GPU spend has been avoided, and in addition to that, the electricity and cooling costs as well. At the same time, we increase capacity, increase efficiency, as well as we accommodate more users, right? And this is just not theoretical, we have proof.
Over the past few months, we have worked on research that increased the GPU capacity by around 24% and increases the speed of output by 2 to 5 times compared to the existing optimized solutions in the market. And we had this research in our hand. We had to convert it into a usable product. So we spoke to different companies who use GPUs in different sectors, and what we understood was they prefer tools that are easy to implement and works over their existing tech stack. And that's what we built. We built a closed source Python package that is easy to install, easy to import, had a few lines of code, we work in the background, and this takes under 15 minutes to set up. And because of this simplicity, we had early traction. After our launch, within 30 days, we had 87 companies across 33 countries using our tool. This was all organic, no sales team, no paid acquisition. And so now you know that we have users and we can acquire users. How are we going to monetize this? We have 2 main revenue channels. One is usage-based, where users pay based on how much tokens they use or how much process it uses. And one more is enterprise license, which is customized for companies based on their needs and requirements. Now, how big is the GPU market? Global GPU sales is increasing, and it's going up to $80 billion per year. And 15 to 25% of it is going wasted. If we're able to capture 10 to 15% of this waste, we have an addressable market of up to $3.6 billion. Now, the main part. To talk about our team, we have a unique mixture of skill sets and talents that can solve this problem. So I am Girish Saraswatipura, leads research here at Deep Variants. Sai Vignesh leads systems engineering. Rohan leads our go-to-market and growth and strategy. So to talk about our mentor, Yuxi Hong, who's one of the reputed researcher in high-performance computing industry. And we are happy to say that we are part of NVIDIA Inception. And we are proud to announce that Plug and Play Tech Center, which is one of the top 5 startup accelerator in the United States, has invested in our pre-seed round and is supporting in our closure. Our ask, we request any connections to AI data centers and neo clouds so that we can run our pilots. And we also request any connections to AI and B2B venture capitals or angel investors who can co-invest in our round and who can support in our future rounds. Thank you for your time. We're open for any questions.
Okay, panelists, we have our timer here. We have 6 minutes for feedback. You don't have to use all of it. Your microphones are in front of you, if you wouldn't mind sharing those. Please, I hand it to you.
What support, great job, guys. You did a really nice job. How are you finding support locally in Bloomington beyond the university? Are you finding any sources that can be helping you in this process? And then what kind of, sorry, thank you. What kind of moat do you have from someone stealing what you're doing?
So recently, because of this summit, we're getting some connections from Microsoft and local Indiana data centers who wants to talk to us and learn more about what we are doing. So we have meetings scheduled with them, and we're going to talk to them and learn more and talk about the requirement as well.
And do you want to talk about our moat? So these are the current solutions that are already in the market. So either there are people who only optimize either the models or either the specific hardware. And there are research labs which basically do research, but they don't really productionize because they don't have the scaling experience, because they need architecture-based developers. And some people also compress LLMs to fit in edge devices like your models, like how Apple Intelligence have their local models on your devices. And we are trying to bring everything as a unified solutions to this big data center fleet, because we have hundreds of data centers around the US and thousands around the world. And if we improve the efficiency of this by providing this unified solution, we would not only be saving millions in cost for them, but also electricity, and it also be economically and geologically valuable. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. So I kind of a couple questions. I guess the first is this a business that you are wanting to build and operate, or is this a technology that you want to create and perfect and then deploy into somebody else's organization? So are you trying to build a company, or are you just trying to sell the technology? And kind of secondarily, why I ask is I would say the moat, the IP that you have. My assumption is that this is being developed, you know? I mean, the NVIDIAs of the world, folks with big labs, they're looking at this issue. Where we're at the life cycle of data centers are, you know, they keep getting better, they keep getting stronger. This is definitely an area under the microscope that other people are working on. So what makes what you have better, or is it because you have it faster? So kind of two questions combined.
Yeah, to talk about a secret sauce, many companies are doing optimization. Many research labs are doing optimization. They isolate different optimization. Kernel optimization is a different segment, and scheduling optimization is a different segment. What we are doing is we are deciding, based on the load that GPU has, we decide how the incoming queries or how the incoming questions should be directed, so that in real time we don't stress individual GPUs, and we distribute the load and don't increase the temperature and balance the load across GPUs so that we make it faster and efficient as well. And yeah, to talk about the future plans, we are building this as a business, but every company, including Google, has a research wing with it. So we have a team who leads business, who works on research. So the research team continuously works on new research, we build new ideas, we work on that, we try, we fail, we try again. We are in that phase. So research wing works on research, and the building, business building, is working on marketing and growing.
Our model is mostly an early stages of a lab like OpenAI itself, because their mode is research, right? And it's continuous research. We have GPT models coming up every day, and we have better performance every day. It's very similar to that, Amish.
Yeah, it's just an experience share is that I'm not in your industry, but in the automotive industry, when the EV market started coming up, there were multiple companies that kept coming up trying to develop a better technology for lithium-ion batteries. And none of those businesses really existed, but those that were the strongest got integrated into either Tesla or into one of the OEMs, right? So there wasn't space for a standalone aftermarket optimization company because it's just such a big space. So I'm just trying to figure.
So
to do your own startup and have this business that's going to go into this versus is it more optimal to sell to a company that's already in it?
Yes, Amish, we had been thinking about it. So we are trying to work adjacent with data centers and providers which give us GPUs so that if we integrate or be adjacent with them, we would be able to integrate and make a business model out of it.
And at some point, if NVIDIA or Google is willing to acquire us, we are open to that. We're happy to that.
David, it looks like you had a question. I think we have time for one more.
Sure. Can you guys just talk a little bit about your go-to-market motion? What is it like being a small startup based in Bloomington with aspirations and probably the #1 most acute problem in AI? How do you cut through the noise? How do you differentiate yourself? How do you get in the door? And what does your process look like to get to pilot, to get to a long-term contract? Talk to us a little bit about that.
So yeah, I'll give an example which happened with me in my company when I was working. So Informatica is a Salesforce company now. I started using Grok. Grok is the tool that was acquired by NVIDIA. Then I took it to my manager. My manager took it to his leadership. So there was a wide adoption in my company. So we are focusing on developers who we can convert into users, take their company into account later. And one more, we are targeting companies by going to conferences, email marketing. We are bootstrapping. We are reaching out in LinkedIn. That's how we are marketing right now.
It's a land and expand strategy there.
All right, perfect timing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, we have Aspen with Pilly Pop. We'll get to your slide here. Help me welcome Aspen to the stage.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? All right, sounds like you guys might need to wake up a little bit, okay? I'll say Pilly, you say Pop. Pilly. Pop. Pilly. Pop. Great, now on the count of 3, everybody yell out what medication they're taking. I'm just kidding. But on a more serious note, wouldn't it be nice if you could discreetly take your medication in public settings? Introducing Pilly Pop. Peace of mind in your pocket. Growing up, my mom suffered from debilitating migraines that would leave her down for 1 to 2 days at a time. Oftentimes, she'd be in public when she'd feel a migraine building, but would forget her preventative medication sitting at home on her bedside table. By the time she finally got back to the house, she was suffering from blurred vision, nausea, and her head was pounding. Watching her go through this is something that I've always struggled with. But she's not alone. Roughly 70% of Americans forget to take daily medications every single day. And it's difficult to remember to take these medications. It's even more challenging to remember to take them at certain times. The traditional options that are currently on the market are bulky, obvious, and they're not very portable. That's where Pilly Pop comes in. It's a portable phone accessory that attaches to the back of your phone via MagSafe lock or adhesive, and it opens up to store your daily medications or small essentials. It's equipped with a child lock safety feature, and it fits your daily doses or something small such as rings, earrings, or backup hearing aid batteries. Now you might ask, how have you validated this idea? I stood on the corner of Kirkwood at the sample gates for 2 hours and talked to individuals to gather real unfiltered feedback. I was able to talk to about 35 individuals and found that 85% of them take daily medications or supplements. Within that group, 68% of them use no sort of device reminder system, leading to many missed doses. However, when introduced to Pilly Pop, 71% of them signed up for product testing. I've continued to build on this momentum through an accelerator program at 16 Tech. I'm also in the process of filing IP protection to get a provisional patent, and I'm working on a second iteration as well. Recently, I've also won the IU Vernon Clapp competition and the IU Innovates competition. I'll be continuing to work on this over the summer at an internship through the Startup Summer Program at the Mill, Amplify Bloomington. So let's take a look at our market. We've got our TAM, SAM, and SUM. Our TAM is made up of over 100 million on-the-go Americans that forget to take their daily medications. From there, we break it down into our SAM, which is about 10 million Americans. Those would be our early adopters, tech-savvy individuals. And from there, we break it down to our slice of the pie, which would be our SUM, valued at roughly $3 million. This would be about 200,000 Big Ten students that we would first focus on that are on-the-go medication users with active lifestyles. As far as competitors go, you have your traditional option, your pill case holder that is quite large, bright neon colors. It attracts a lot of attention, and it's not very discreet. From there, you've got your keychain holders, which are somewhat more discreet, but they're also bulky, they're loud, they draw attention, and you've got your device reminders on your phone. Those are great, but if you forget your medication at home, they're not very helpful. From there, you've got your traditional pop socket, which is fun to have on the back of your phone, but it's not very functional. PillyPop solves all of this by connecting to something you'll never forget, your phone. It's discreet, it's portable, and it's equipped with a child lock safety feature. As far as our go-to-market strategy, we plan to continue to validate this idea with IU students. From there, we expand across the entire Big Ten network, and once that's complete, we'll expand collegiately across all campuses. After we've completed this, we plan to focus on bulk partnerships with retail and healthcare spaces. As far as production costs go, it is quite easy to produce this. It takes about 40 cents to produce one unit, and we're selling them for $15 a piece. So PillyPop is not only impactful, but also highly scalable. For our growth plan, we have 3 phases at the moment. Our first phase is to focus on that campus launch, continue refining the product and building the brand. From there, we'd focus on campus collaborations as well as club expansions. We'd attack our sum and work on some customizations, such as including your logos for sororities, clubs, or maybe businesses on the top of the lid. From there, we'd focus on those bulk sales with healthcare and retail partnerships, as well as implementing product line extensions. Some of our next steps include product development, marketing, manufacturing, and operational costs to secure our IP protection. We'd also like to include tech sensors in our lid tied into an app that can serve as a second reminder to refill your medication in your PillyPop before you leave the house. A little bit about me. I just graduated with my Master's of Science in Management through the Kelley School of Business 2 weeks ago with a focus in entrepreneurship. I'd love for you guys to connect with me using this link. It has all of my information. As far as my micro asks go, I'm looking for mentorship, strategic guidance, product feedback, and connections within the manufacturing space, phone accessories, or any kind of product design that you might be able to connect me with. Thank you very much. I'll now open the floor to questions.
Thank you so much. Excellent presentation, and congratulations.
Thank you.
On all your awards. I'm curious if what considerations you've taken surrounding changes in the temperature of the phone and the effect that might have on the type of medication that's being held in your device, and what changes that can have on the chemical makeup of the medication.
Yeah, so that's within our next steps. We'd like to include some product testing and kind of batch runs to see what materials would work best and what would protect the medication the best, because there are a lot of different factors to consider, some of them being heat, some of them being if they're introduced to water or if they're connecting to other medications.
Hi. Hi. You mentioned applying for a patent?
Yes.
How's that going? What's the preliminary, how far are you into that? How optimistic, and who's guiding you there?
Of course. So I'm working with a law firm in Indianapolis, and we have been in the works. I've discussed with them starting this week. I've sent them all of my information with competitors as well as one of my samples. So far, so good. We're working on a provisional patent, and then we plan to file that utility patent within a year. But I believe with the tech sensors included, that would be a good differentiator to kind of take me away from the competition.
And so coupled with that, what stops Pop Socket from knocking this off? It is the patent, right? And any phone case could figure out some other way to put pills into it. So my advice to you is to really begin there and see how detailed that is. And the ultimate play for this might be to build a little bit of your own market as you're building, but it's selling it to a pop socket. Selling that patent there's just so much distribution. We know, you just go on Amazon, there's 1 million phone cases. So if you really have a differentiating there and getting the right lawyers that have sharp elbows to make someone's life difficult if they want to go that route. So.
Thank you.
Great presentation, Aspen. Can you hear me? Yes. Can you tell us a little bit more about the reminder system? Because that was the piece I was thinking about, like forgetting your medication at home. Like, what does that look like? Is there an app that it syncs with?
Yeah, of course. So that's the plan with the tech sensor lid. The lid will be able to determine when you open the Pilly Pop. So if you have gotten home and you put in a reminder that maybe you leave around 8:30, 9 in the morning, it can send you a reminder through the app to just be like, hey, don't forget to take your medication with you for the day. I also plan to tie that into doctors' offices so doctors can actually track if you're taking your medications, but they'll also know when to refill your prescriptions with pharmacies.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That's a really interesting presentation, and I think it's kind of a blind spot. Not a lot of people innovating on the back of the phone. They're mostly focused on the front of the phone. So I applaud that. I kind of see this forking into two products. I see this being like your 40-cent manufacturing product that's just a case. And it's disguised as a pop socket. It's very simple. It does basic function. And then I see you making an investment in something that has sensing in it, may connect to the phone with Bluetooth LE, may activate the alarm, may activate e-commerce, reordering, et cetera. But it seems pretty clear. You sort of have two products, two price points, one that takes a lot more R&D, a lot more cost, bigger commitment for the user, but has a lot more functionality. But I think you can get a pretty far way down the road with just a basic storage case as well.
Thank you.
Lots of other things, not just, I like that you teased us a bit. You said not just medicine, but you said supplements, but there's all kinds of other small things that people are putting in their mouths these days that are legal in a lot of states that could also be commingled with this too.
Thank you.
Awesome. I have one, just maybe a question on the legal side of things. You were talking about your test market being on campus with students.
Correct.
And again, I'm maybe not familiar with the medication usage of students, but I do know, having turned 50, everybody I know all of a sudden has these little pill boxes. So in my specific demographic, who generally has more disposable income, we all take a lot of pills.
Okay.
And so I just think from a demographic, a market like product fit, it might be interesting to test out the over 50 market who have now got pills that they have to take every day, and they usually, like me, leave them in my pocket and forget to take them. I think it's brilliant. I think what you're doing is really cool, and I think everybody I know would probably buy one because I think really not even taking a lot of time, just taking it to market, finding an e-commerce solution, buying some SEO or whatever on the right site, and just selling the crap out of it, getting a first mover advantage and seeing what you could do.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I would just add tying those comments together about two products. At the end of the day, this is going to, the software may be your ultimate relationship with the customer, right? Because now they're going to get invested in learning how to do something, loading their medications in there. So keep that in mind, the software platform, because over time, there could be lots of knockoffs of different ways to carry pills. But it's going to be really important to building that software relationship. Okay.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aspen.
Thank you.
So we've heard about GPUs. We've heard about phone accessories. Next up, Pokemon cards. Help me welcome Carter to the stage.
Thank you. The Pokemon card market has a problem. Packs are sold out across the country, collectors are getting ripped off left and right, and they're shelling out ridiculous amounts of money to get their hands on any kind of Pokemon product. Hi, I'm Carter Vermillion, founder and CEO of Piranha Packs, and I'm here to tell you that I have the fix. To start, how many of you guys have heard of the S&P 500? Well, surprise, surprise, all of you. Of course you've heard of the S&P 500. It's seen as the gold standard index to put your money into and let it grow safely. 20 years ago, if you put $10,000 into the S&P 500, today you'd have just under $90,000. That's pretty good. But I'm here to tell you there was a better option. If you'd put that same 10K into 4 first edition PSA 10 Charizards, those would be worth $1.2 million now. Proving that this isn't just a hobby anymore, it's also an emerging asset class of its own. But as it's picked up this big traction, some problems have come with it. To understand these problems, let's put ourselves in the shoes of Pikachu. Pikachu just got his very first pack. The only problem, the odds are stacked against him from the very beginning. He paid 3 times MSRP for this pack because they're sold out everywhere, and he's trying to get his favorite Charizard card, but that card only appears 1 in every 2,000 packs. You know what the end result is? Pikachu has no money and no Charizard. So, people love opening packs, but they often hate the outcome. And it's not bad luck, it's that the system is currently broken. So, what's the current solution, you might be asking yourself? The current solution are mystery packs. Arena Club and Courtyard.io are the 2 big competitors out in this space right now. And they basically ask the question, what if we took the best cards that have already been pulled from these packs, and we made our own packs with just the good stuff? And this has worked for a time. I'm about to show you guys a graph soon here. But there's been some major transparency issues and value issues for the collectors opening these packs. As we can see in this graph, the cost to hit a chase card is slightly better than the Pokemon Company, but not by a lot. Introducing Piranha Packs, where it is 95% cheaper to hit that same chase card than the next best competitor. Now I see your guys' eyes lighting up. How can you provide a product that is 95% cheaper than the next best competitor? And the answer is, I've been in the industry for 12 years and have hundreds of connections the other guys just don't have. The 2 biggest competitors have been in the industry for 4 years. I buy at 70 cents on the dollar, and I buy my inventory directly myself, whereas my competitors pay middlemen to get their inventory for them, and they pay full market value. That 30% is a built-in cost advantage that I can pass on to the consumer and maintain profitability while delivering a better product. So here's what Piranha Packs is all about. You go to our website and select which pack you want to open. After you purchase it, there's a live digital animated reveal mimicking a real-life pack opening. Your card is then revealed, and then a couple days later, it is shipped directly to your doorstep. So, I already touched on our market-leading returns, but to further illustrate that, I want to talk about my most basic pack, the bronze $30 pack. So, your odds to hit a chase card, something worth 5x the pack price, so in this case, $150, for Piranha Packs is 1 in 25. For the next closest competitor, it is 1 in 400, further illustrating just how big the gap is here. We also have no hidden fees, which none of my competitors can say, and a transparent checklist so you can see every card and the product before you open it. Here's the market opportunity. The total addressable market is about $600 billion for Pokemon cards. The serviceable addressable market for openings is about $60 billion, and I believe I can capture about $250 million of that a year as I scale. So here's some unit economics. We have bronze, silver, and gold at $30, $50, and $100 a pack on launch. It'll be a little bit smaller of a launch to kind of test it out. And if we sell out of the initial launch, we'll net just under $3,000 in total profit, which is about a 35% margin, and this margin is very scalable. So here's my current traction. I've been running this very same model for the last 5 years at trade shows, averaging over $100,000 in annual revenue, and I'm very happy with that. The issue is there's a very low ceiling at these trade shows, as I can only reach so many consumers. So I want to use the website as a scaling vehicle to reach even more consumers, and I can run 24/7 on a website, whereas with the trade shows, I'm limited to normally weekends. So here's the team. I'm Carter, the founder and CEO. I've been in this industry for over 12 years. I'm a second-time founder, and I've been running this 6-figure business for the last 5. Then we have Bryce on my advisory board, who is currently Arena Club, my #1 competitor's full-time TCG buyer. And he likes my model so much, he says if I can get this thing off the ground, he will come work for me. Next, we have Julie, who is a serial entrepreneur, and she has tons and tons of corporate network experience, which will become very helpful as we scale. We then have Aaron, who is also on our advisory board and our future marketing consultant with 28 years of sales experience and a proven track record of scaling businesses. Lastly, we have Jake on our advisory board, who is also a future inventory sourcer with 15 years in the TCG space, who has ran his own card shop here in Bloomington. So we formed the LLC in January, advisory board was formed in February, and we are targeting a website completion soon here in May to launch in June. Next, we want to order some marketing materials to convert my current customers to the website, and we also want to add some more premium tiers to capture the higher end consumer, as well as some other categories such as other TCGs like One Piece and sports cards, and then do some influencer partnerships to capture their audience and convert them to Piranha Packs buyers. So I would love to connect with absolutely anyone interested in alternative investments or collecting, or if you're just interested in learning more about Pokemon cards or Piranha Packs in general. All my contact information is down there. I would love if you'd reach out. So we're not just selling packs, we're rebuilding trust in a broken market. I have 12 years of transparent experience the other guys just don't have. This hobby built me, now I'm rebuilding this hobby. Thank you. I could open up for questions.
Okay, I'll bite. Congratulations. This is really cool. One of the things I love about this is you can keep this as a side hustle, This can be a very small thing that's quite lucrative for an individual, or you could put all your weight behind this, raise some money, spend some money in marketing, be differentiated, and scale this thing up. There is a lot of competition in here, as you know. So can you talk a little bit about positioning beyond just cost, vis-a-vis the Whatnots, the StockX's, some of the other more professionalized collectors, and talk a little bit about time horizon getting beyond Pokemon. Pokemon has sort of surprised me that its brand has lasted as long as it's lasted, but it is a key risk here. If Pokemon ever goes south and we lose the market intensity and dynamics here, what do you have left here in adjacent categories that gives you longevity?
So as I talked about, as I scale, I want to go into some other TCGs. I'm starting with Pokemon because it's the biggest IPO in the world. And the common saying in the industry is Charizard's not going to tear his ACL. So as I scale, I want to get into some other stuff like sports cards, One Piece, some other anime cards. And then as it goes for differentiators, my product is going to be the only one before you purchase where you can see absolutely every outcome. So on launch, my bronze pack is going to have 100 cards in it. You're going to see a gallery of all 100 cards, whereas the other guys only show the chase cards. If you buy a $100 pack, oftentimes you'll end up with something that's $30 and was nowhere displayed on there, and then you feel like you just got ripped off. So my biggest differentiator is not only the value that I provide the consumer, but also transparency.
So why is the pack $100? Why don't you auction the pack and let the market determine the clearing price?
So a big issue right now in the industry is Whatnot. I know a lot of streamers personally, and it's very lucrative, but very often someone will overpay way over market price for a card and then complain about it. And the biggest thing that I want to deal with is transparency here. A lot of the other repackers have what I feel is a predatory buyback option immediately after you open the pack. They'll offer you a percentage of that card's value to buy it back. And that's just, honestly, in my opinion, straight up gambling. And there's no problem with that, but I know a lot of people personally where you run into a cycle of, oh, you might hit a big card to start, and then you keep rolling it down and down and down until you're left with nothing. So not only do I want to provide value, I want this to be a more of a collector experience.
Your packs are so much cheaper. Do you worry about devaluing the asset class?
Not really. So part of my scalability is adding some other tiers. So I'm offering 3 more affordable packs because my current consumer base that I'm going to capture at these trade shows, this is the stuff that they can afford to start. But I do know a lot of higher end collectors that I've sold to personally for my other collections. As I scale, I want to add the $250, the $500, $1,000 plus packs to capture the higher end collector. But I just want to start with this so I can aggressively attack the market. And for the most affordable thing, this is what the average person is buying, is the $30 to $100 pack. So that's how I want to get the word out there to start, is by starting with the smaller stuff and then scaling from there.
No questions, just a comment. My 9-year-old son will be very, very excited about this, so thank you, and just appreciate super great presentation, very engaging, great job.
Thank you. All right, sweet.
More
Thank you,
questions?
guys.
Thank you so much, Carter. Good job. So GPUs, phone accessories, Pokemon cards. Next up, let's go to space.
Thank you. Testing. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Trevor Payton. I'm a PhD student here at Indiana University, and I'm the founder of Arrayfold. So space seems empty, but it's actually not. It's full of radiation that you can't see. That comes from our sun, suns from other solar systems or other galaxies, and then they can get trapped around the Earth and in other places and have a high density of particles. Now, we really don't ever have to think about this because on Earth we have the atmosphere and particles slow down and they don't ever reach our electronics or anything, but up in space it's a really big issue. One particle passing through, hitting a microelectronic, can flip a bit, and that could cause the entire system to malfunction or stop working completely. And satellites aren't cheap. So I want you to imagine that you work at Blue Origin or SpaceX, and you're picking the next chip for a satellite constellation. Right now, there's 2 options. The first is a $20 chip that is built for here on Earth. They're cheap, fast, but they have no radiation tolerance for up in space. The second is a $200,000 chip that was built for this market. It's called radiation hardened, and it's total assurance, so clearly you would want to go with that, right? That's always been the case, but now we're launching satellites at mass. So we're launching 10,000 satellites. Now that $200,000 chip would cost you $2 billion, and that's just one small part of the entire satellite. So it's not economically viable anymore to go that route. So what companies are doing is they're putting the $20 chip on there, paying a fraction of the price, but they're accepting a loss. They're saying in a week, a month, a year, a certain percentage of our fleet may just be completely gone. And this market is expected to grow tremendously. New space is what it's called, is just now picking up speed. It's expected to hit $1 trillion by 2040. And this isn't some made-up thing I'm talking about. Here's an example. Last year in October, an Airbus actually got hit with a particle. The plane nosedived, and they recalled 6,000 of their planes, did an emergency update, and this is just because they're higher up in the atmosphere. Satellites get hit with radiation all the time. They're constantly exposed to this. So really the question is, in orbit, you're gonna get hit with radiation. When is that gonna happen, and what is the impact of that to your device or satellite? So at Arrayfold, we created, this is our second generation chip. We're targeting under $5,000. It's a radiation tolerant chip, so it sits in the middle between the market. You have, it's not radiation hardened, we're not guaranteeing total assurance, but we're offering protection and de-risking the mission and offering the Earth-based chip performance. So the current latest generation chip that we have is a general purpose CPU. It also has embedded AI on it. So it's got dedicated engines that can run AI. AI is a big topic on Earth, and it is also in space. There's huge proposals for data centers in space and autonomous systems. So this is very important. And then finally, satellites communicate, and they need to do it in a secure way. We actually developed our algorithms to do the post-quantum computing to deal with post-quantum computers breaking encryption schemes. And this is actually our second generation chip, third chip that we've produced. So the first generation chips, we had two. One was a dedicated AI accelerator. The second was a CPU with a small AI accelerator embedded on it. And then this third generation chip has all these combined. We weren't able to get the cryptographic engines on there because it wouldn't fit, because we're dealing with technology nodes that are 20 years old. We're doing that to leverage costs, to bring the price down, but we plan on scaling up and going to the more modern nodes. One of the big things is that the reliability is just the icing on the cake, kind of. These devices work in any environment. They work in terrestrial environments, and one of the things that we're optimizing for is power and size and efficiency. So this works naturally really well with drones. The computing, the secure computing cryptographic works with defense really well. There's a lot of overlap in additional sectors, and we'd like to target automotive as well, because it's all the same things that space has. So in particular, I'm looking for people who have dealt with hardware like Raspberry Pi, Arduino, Expressif. If you've never heard of these companies created a hardware, and they basically created their own market, and they scaled and they dominated it. Raspberry Pi was a cheap compute capability. Expressif is the leader in IoT. They basically created the market. So I'm looking for anybody who has connections to help advise and scale my company as we grow. And then also, I'll always take customer interactions. If you know someone who would want these chips, I would absolutely love to connect. So thank you.
Great presentation, thank you. I'm curious if you can tell us a little bit more about the composition of the chips themselves and the component that is making it radiation tolerant.
Yeah, so the reason radiation hardened electronics are expensive is because they use custom manufacturing processes, a lot of engineering hours to go into this. I'm leveraging standard commercial processes. I'm doing my hardening is by design. So in the way that I design my AI engines, the CPU, I'm baking in radiation tolerance into those. So I can leverage the cheaper manufacturing process. Yeah. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
That does. I'm curious how that process, is that something you are looking to protect?
Yes. It's interesting because this is kind of a niche in a niche in a niche. It's hardware, which is already a niche, space, which is even more of a niche, and then AI accelerators as well is the third level. So I definitely am planning on pursuing patents and things. How that gets structured and everything, I'll work that out. But that's in the near future, yes.
There's a couple people in our network that could be helpful here. Have you talked to Dylan Patel at Semi-Analysis about what you're doing?
I have not.
So
no.
he sort of writes the preeminent newsletter for this space, and also just recently raised his first fund. Might be someone worth connecting with to explore both funding, but also just some feedback on some of what your notions are and what your ideas are vis-a-vis competitive analysis. Another one is a guy called Beju, who's the co-founder of Robinhood, the stock trading platform. Now is building a space data center company, does a ton of angel investing, really, really excited about tackling some of the challenges that you see as well. I'm just trying to think of people that might give you a little bit of capital acceleration, but also help you de-risk your go-to-market when you're actually putting these chips into a channel in a context where people need them. I'm not sure Elon is like your founding partner in a company like this, although he's signaling a lot of interest in data center and space as well. But people are a little bit more nimble, a little bit more startup friendly, like Beju, like Dylan, could be interesting context for you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I would say that I think Elon is probably leaning more towards competitor the way I've seen. He's investing a lot of work into chip manufacturing and radiation testing, but we'll see where it goes.
I'm excited that you can maybe pull us ahead of Purdue in space exploration. We deserve it.
Yeah.
I am curious, what are the failure rates when it's radiation tolerant?
It's very process dependent, chip dependent. So one of the first generation chips, for instance, I plan this summer to go and we actually take them to a radiation beam and we test it and we understand what those are. So you would publish that information and a company would say, here's what we're targeting in an environment. Does this chip meet that demand? So it's very specific on what the need is. If you're doing a deep space mission for 15 years, you probably need a very hardened part because it's going to be the most exposed. LEO, which is low Earth orbit, it's protected a lot more by the atmosphere, so you can get away with a lot more. And that's where most of the satellites are. So that's the primary market we're targeting first. Eventually, we would like to grow it, though. Yeah. And I want to say, IU just had a massive, the IU Create, the Center for Trusted Microelectronics. So there is a huge initiative here in IU Bloomington for that. So, yeah.
So what are your steps to actually go to market? Are you in like kind of lab production stage right now? And it sounds like you're looking to build your own manufacturing facility?
So
or production environment?
We're going to leverage chip foundries that exist. It's very expensive and time consuming for that. I mean, down the road, I think it's definitely a possibility. But as it stands, so the first generation chips were prototype chips to make sure the technology works, to check the radiation tolerance, things like that. This second chip the third chip that I've built is I want to do as a commercial product. There's some nuance in how you scale in the semiconductor industry, but it's a viable option for this. And then I want to keep scaling down in the technology node, which will become more competitive in a lot of other sectors like drones and things like that.
So what would it take to get your first dollar of revenue?
I've already got so these chips, I'm going to get 300 chips back, and if I'm selling them for under $5,000, I'm already planning on taking that profit and being able to scale up production so that the margins on the cost of the chips scale to a really small amount, or a large amount, I should say. Yeah.
Have you explored NRE relationships too? Because I imagine if you get a design partner, there's probably some non-dilutive capital that can come your way as well.
I have not, but anything like that I'd be willing to look into, yeah.
Great job, Trevor.
Thank you. I don't know if you want this or... Yeah.
Okay, we're running a little bit behind. So we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then I believe we have Sophie on deck. Okay, we'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, we are going to head back to our seats. And I'm going to look for Dr. K, Dr. Karatko. All right, so we are going to get started here. And I am going to invite up to the podium a very important professor who everyone here needs to hear from. Okay. This isn't possible without the professors of these students. This is an ecosystem. It's about all the actors who support our entrepreneurs. So I would like you to meet Dr. Karatko, one of our professors from the Kelley School of Business and the leader of the Johnson Entrepreneurship Center. Will you please join me on stage?
Is it working? Thank you, Julie. One of my claims to fame is I was on the search committee that hired Julie for IU Innovates, so I'm really proud of that. So I'm on the academic side of entrepreneurship, obviously, as a professor. We've got majors and minors at all levels, from the PhD level to the master's level to the undergraduate level, even cross-campus certificates customized for the schools. So we really try to get the idea of this entrepreneurial mindset going through all of our different schools and all of our different students. We take great pride in that. I take great pride in our entrepreneurship program. For 19 consecutive years, we've been in the top 5 in U.S. News and World Report consistently. So that's, yeah, it's really remarkable. So that's always nice when you get that kind of longevity and sustainability and what we've been able to accomplish. One of the interesting things we do at the academic level, since Todd mentioned about risk and about what you have to do to be disruptive, I've always taken that to heart about the risk. So we created a course at our undergraduate level called the Spine Sweat Experience. We wanted to make sure that there was a way that students would go to bed at night and feel their spines sweat. And most entrepreneurs would understand what that means. So what we did was we created a course where they work on their business plans and their venture ideas, much of what you've heard today. And then they, at the end of the term, right before, about 2 weeks before graduation, they turn that plan in. I bring in 20 judges from around the United States in all different areas, and then we break them down into rooms, and they go into the room and they present, and the panel decides their final grade. Their entire graduation rides on this. If they would get an F, they don't graduate. So we feel that we now know, usually around April, the students are going to bed at night and feeling their spine sweat, because we have nothing to do with the grade. The entire grade is done by the evaluators, much like if the panel here was deciding the final grade of a student to decide if they graduate or not. At the master's level, my online MBA students, we ramp that up a bit. We have them fly out to Silicon Valley, where I've got a 22-member advisory board, and they present their plans out there in the same thing we call the ultimate spine sweat experience. And they can tell you a little bit more about that. I know Maribel Cassens is here and Bob Swart is here, who are survivors of that, so they can tell you their experience. I think their spines are still sweating from it, from the experience. But it's a really great way to teach our students how to mitigate risk, how to confront it, how to accept it. And so they're really proud that we do that as well. And we've got a number of students that have done exceptionally well. Coming up, you'll hear from Sid, one of our students in the Spine Sweat, who'll be coming up next here. He was not only a survivor of Spine Sweat, he won the Outstanding Business Plan for the entire day, which is pretty incredible. So you'll get to hear his plan as well and his pitch today. So we're excited to hear that. I also want to mention, Julie's done, as you heard today, a phenomenal job with IU Innovates. We work closely with her and with the team there. Parker Busick is one of her operating managers. Parker, I want to give a call out, shout out, because he was one of survivors of Spine Sweat. And not only did he survive that torture, now he's made an announcement that he's actually going to come back to school and get his PhD in entrepreneurship under us. So. hopefully the junior Dr. K coming up. So that's really some of the stuff we do. Parker, congratulations on what you're going to be doing. We look forward to working with you on that. I kidded with him backstage. I said, you know, you thought spine sweat was bad? We do 5 years of a PhD. We'll really drag you through it. So it's been great. We're proud of our programs. We're proud now that from the academic side, we have the experiential side with Julie and all the great things they do at IU Innovates. And you're experiencing some of their product today, which is pretty amazing when you see what these students do. So we're anxious for the next round. Welcome back, everybody. We're looking forward to the next ones. Julie, I will turn it back to you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Dr.
I should tell them one more thing that I always tell a lot of my students. Remember, everything is always impossible before it works. That's what the entrepreneurial mindset's all about. Doing what most people tell you is impossible. So that's really what you're seeing with our young entrepreneurs today. So I love their entrepreneurial mindsets.
Thank you. Okay, we have 4 more. Please help me welcome to the stage Sophie.
It costs a company up to 200% of someone's salary to replace them once they leave. This scales up to $8.9 trillion in the US alone annually. We spend over 1/3 of our lives at work, where over 60% of people are burnt out. Teams span generations, time zones are in-person, remote, or somewhere in between. This is Sai, and yes, he's a real person. He's just graduated from college, and he's joined Zeta, a 2,000-employee B2B SaaS company, and he's excited for mentorship and connection. But like many others, he instead receives isolation, burns out, and leaves within a few months. This greatly lowers team morale and puts an increased demand on productivity for the rest of his team, which continues the cycle. Replacing these burned out employees costs a company up to 200% of each person's salary after they leave, and this scales to $8.9 trillion in the US alone. Humanize is a trusted external partner that breaks the cycle through an employee engagement service. We use a systematized process to sit down with team members one-on-one, get to know them as people, and turn their stories into a vibrant art installation. This has 3 phases. Phase 1, we interview those employees regardless of title, tenure, or location. Phase 2, we transform those stories into story art pieces and bring in partner artists as well as work with our in-house design team. And phase 3, we host a launch party to debut the art installation so people can come in, see themselves on the walls, and see their peers on the walls, creating and weaving this web of connection. So what does Zeta look like after a Humanize program? When Sai joins Zeta, he sees real people on the walls, their voices, their photos, and their stories. And he later recognizes one of the people being spotlighted, goes up to them in the cafe, and starts building this rapid rapport. As he and many others weave this web of connection, they feel encouraged to contribute more freely, build relationships faster, and truly see a future for themselves there. So they stay. And when the next new hire walks in, they meet with their manager, Sai, who's been at Zeta now for 4 years and manages 14 other analysts. They ask him about his career journey, to which he responds, quote, "I truly feel that this has been a ripple effect of Humanize." So far, we've had 4 paid pilot programs, 89 employee spotlights, and over 400 launch party attendees. And the results don't stop there. 100% of our survey respondents across our pilot programs said that this program strengthened culture and would recommend it to another organization. Because when people feel that they belong, are seen and heard, performance rises by 56%. Turnover risk halves because we've replaced disconnection with scalable human connection. So let's talk about the market. We're going to start off with the Zetas of the US. That's around 225 companies. That's our beachhead. From there, we take the average annual spend per company for HR employee engagement, which is $8 million annually. That brings us to a SOM of $1.86 billion. From there, we go industry agnostic, entering industries like healthcare and education, high burnout industries, brings us to a SAM of $30.4 billion, and a TAM when we go global of $104.2 billion. Let's talk about the competitive landscape. So, there are quite a few indirect competitors here for Humanize. That includes HR survey platforms, team building activities, and visual office curation. Humanize is the partner that takes all the benefits from our competitors and integrates them into one seamless process, where we have these installations that last days, months, or even years after actively working in a company. Every day, employees can come in, see themselves on the wall, and feel the impact. We use both a quantitative and qualitative approach. We use pre- and post-program surveys to track valuable data along the way, and we interview employees one-on-one, regardless of their title, tenure, or location. And lastly, we take an employee-centered approach. Humanize seeks to be the authentic bridge between HR, leadership, and the rest of the organization, so that we are here for everyone. In terms of our traction, we've had 4 paid pilot programs, including one this year, which is still live at IU Innovates. And we plan for the next 12 months to leverage these pilots, as well as doing the Startup Summer Accelerator program at the Mill here in Bloomington to deliver 3 to 6 paid engagements. From there, we plan to go industry agnostic into healthcare, education, and other high burnout industries like hospitality, leveraging the IU alumni and HR networks. And lastly, we want to create a hybrid physical-digital platform, so you're not only seeing these installations in person, but you're also seeing them on social media and in a virtual experience. And we want to train in-house HR teams to be able to run these programs themselves through a certification program. My micro ask today is connections to HR leaders, heads of people, or employee experience professionals for a 15-minute feedback conversation. My name is Sophie Wong. I'm the founder and CEO of Humanize, Bloomington native, born and raised. I'm the daughter of 2 Chinese-American immigrants, also IU alum, and this has taught me the value of being able to build bridges growing up in the West, but being raised with Eastern cultural values of how to connect with anyone across different identities, backgrounds, and such. I'm an Orr Fellow alum, co-founder of an arts nonprofit, and Kelly undergrad and current Kelly full-time MBA student. For the last 4 years, I've worked in tech and art galleries and had the opportunity to merge the two in 2023. Thank you for your time today. Shout out to my intern team, which are also IU students as well, and I'm now open up to the floor for any questions.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. I'm curious of how you're thinking through the data and privacy as far as when folks are being transparent about their experiences, and your thoughts on potential retaliation from employers when folks are being so transparent about their experiences.
Sure. So your question is around protecting the data and privacy of the people that we're spotlighting. Is that correct? Yeah, so we actually care a lot about that, and it's really important that we seek to be the authentic bridge between the company, HR leadership, and the people. So specifically, in terms of privacy, we make sure that this initiative, when we launch it to get people to opt in, they get to choose on their accord whether they want to opt in and be spotlighted. From there, they know that they're going to be interviewed and sat down one-on-one, and that their interview is going to be transcribed and recorded, but that it's not going to be shared with anyone outside of that. From there, our in-house team takes that transcription and transforms it into a story art piece, in which we then give them to give us the final approval and green light before we move on to have it be public. So every step of the way, they are giving us the green light. Yes, I want to opt in. Yes, I like what this is. No, I want to edit this. This is what I want to change. All the way until it goes live in the office and also on social media. And that's been a part of our process from the very beginning.
I feel a little bit of conflict in your strategy. I feel like you are taking elements of humanity and what I would sort of call the old world expressions through wall art, et cetera, and then your roadmap says in 24 months, you're going to bring in more digital screens, you're going to integrate with social media, Instagram, et cetera. To me, the way that I intuitively think about this is you have to reach people today where the attention is today. And sadly, for better or for worse, the attention is more digital than it is analog. And so I would urge you to kind of invert that part of your roadmap, and I would encourage you to be building digital expressions of this output sooner. I think they're easier to measure, they're much more cost effective to create. I think you can get data pretty quickly about what's working, what's not working, and then really put your weight around the things that are successful. An adjacent comment, it's an early Google story, but it's a huge influence and learning opportunity. I told someone else about this today. Someone very early in Google's history realized that a tremendous place to deliver messaging, teaching, insights, et cetera, is actually in the bathroom. And so Google for years had a team that went around and hung up these acrylic sleeves, and once a week changed content in these acrylic sleeves inside of stalls, above urinals, near sinks, and they call it learning in the loo. And they actually can scientifically measure the output of the messaging that's uniquely deployed in bathrooms and the output in people's work. And it was a hugely unseen and unthought of idea to teach employees. Maybe that's part of your strategy too.
Thanks for sharing. And I will say that's super valid what you said about inverting it. We actually do both at the same time. So when someone buys an enterprise engagement, they're not only getting an in-person installation, but everything is going live on social media and the websites, because we want it to be as accessible as possible. Not everyone's going into the office, not everyone's going to make it for the launch party. So how do we make it as accessible and to the person as possible?
Yeah, one of the things we use at Google quite often to also deliver messaging and talk to employees is like a Google Hangout or a Zoom launch screen. And that's a tremendous place where eyeballs are many, many times per day, whether we like it or not. You can deliver your messaging, probably do some of your storytelling through those sorts of channels too, through custom interfaces.
Love it.
Sophie, thank you so much. Super creative. I have so many questions, but I'll try to stick to two. On one of your charts, you listed an HR survey. Do you see this integrating in some way? Do you see it connecting to that? Or would it be completely separate from anything that's measured and tracked within a company?
Yeah, it would definitely be complementary in the sense of we wouldn't necessarily be partnering with these platforms, we'd have our own. So we're collecting data pre and post program, things like number of promotions, churn rate, we're collecting how people feel in terms of morale, connection to the company, their peers currently, and then we track that exact data right after the program and for the following few years, so that we're taking that data-backed approach and being able to show, oh, this program produced XYZ responses. Sai, like I mentioned earlier, is a real person, and I have multiple other testimonials of people who said, hey, this is what this program did for me, but that data is just as important as well.
Okay, thank you. Super smart. And then the other one is, given that team dynamics can shift and tricky situations can pop up, how do you think about having, actual tangible galleries up and then there's a layoff or a reorg or, things like that? I'm just curious to, when those sensitive situations come up that can really change a team, how do you think about the physical space responding?
Yes, that's super valid, and I would say while we do really advocate for retention, because that is a big part of just protecting the org and that sort of thing, people do leave on their own accord or maybe they get laid off. From a business lens, that is actually good for our business because we think about this not being a one-time installation, but something that can be refreshed every month, every quarter, every year with new people, or we're updating current people's pieces and things like that. So the installation lives, breathes, and grows with the company as the company changes and evolves.
So just I guess a comment, because it was a reminder. The first office I ever put together when I started my business, I had no money after I paid for furniture, and I needed some artwork, and I sent an email out to our associates and said, send me your favorite picture. And I went to Kinko's, which is no longer, but I had everybody's, like, family, kids, and it was all around our office space. And to this day, it was probably the most memorable because we would see it and actually smile. It was that connection point.
Yeah.
I think that the challenge of that today, and I like where you're going digitally, is, you go into my office today and 60% are all working remotely. And so the challenge of burnout or what have you is that we just don't have, depending on the type of office you're in, we don't have that same human intervention anymore. So, I met an associate there today that's been working for our company 2 years. I just met them for the first time. I've seen them on Teams, but like, how do you integrate that, bringing the storytelling to an organization that might have multiple offices while everybody might be virtual, or they're not, you know, the water cooler has changed these days.
Yeah.
So I wonder how you can include that to humanize the office experience in more virtual environments.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that memory. I think one thing that comes to mind is we think about things like, we know that yes, we're a very virtual and remote world, but there's so much power and so much that happens in person. If it's not every day, we're still doing on-sites, we're still doing off-sites, we're still bringing people in maybe once a year or once every quarter. And so being able to have these launch parties or these installations at those events too, I could see that being really valuable to capitalize on the in-person time. How do we maximize the amount of connection that happens during that time? But also, like you said, I think really making sure that these pieces, because they're things that you can share on social media, they're PNGs, prints, like you can send them into your Slack channel once a week, employee spotlight thrown into the group, the team, all teams Slack, all channel, all companies Slack. And so there are different ways to send these through digital and online virtual mediums that people are using every single day. Or, you know, an email newsletter on steroids, or, you know, or a webinar, or a virtual art gallery launcher in the Slacks, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Well, we just redid our office, and so I'm going to give you a PO because I need some. I need some new art. So you've just inspired me.
Love it.
Good job, Sophie.
Thank you.
Excellent job, Sophie. It's the best outcome when you walk out with a customer.
That's it.
Victor, looks like you're up. Help me welcome Victor to the stage.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Victor Schultz. I'm the founder of Victor's Vintage, and I'd like to tell you about how I make discontinued parts for antique cars. So, this is me. I'm a design student here at IU Bloomington, and I'm a senior. I'll be graduating in the fall. So I'm a lifelong car enthusiast. I have been playing with cars since probably before I could walk. And over time, it's just got bigger and more expensive. I've been reselling antique car parts for at least the last 7 years, and I've owned 28 old cars, and I've worked on probably over 100 more. Here are 7 of the Cadillacs that I've owned. That is sort of the main car that I make parts for right now. So, do you know someone who has an awesome car, something that they put tons of time, tons of money into, and it's just a real passion project? So a car is kind of like a really big, expensive puzzle. Thousands of pieces, some cheap, some expensive, some easy to find, some nearly impossible. So some of those impossible to find parts, they're 30 plus years old. They're made of crumbling plastic. Even if they're brand new in the box from 30 years ago, that plastic is still getting very brittle over time. And even then, it'll be very expensive. So I'm making these parts new, and they're not that expensive. So as I said before, it's like an expensive puzzle, and I'm making replacement pieces for that puzzle. I'm also making upgrades, cosmetic enhancements, and modernizations, such as turning reflectors into LED strips. So my solution is to identify the problem, what parts do people need, what can't they get, make a design that exceeds the OEM specifications and does the job better and does it the exact same way. And sell. Sell them online. That's my main thing right now. I ship nearly everything and don't really sell much in person. So, we're going to talk about my first and most popular product, which I've sold over 450 of. They sell in a pack of 4. Manufacturing takes about 52 cents, and the shipping and selling costs about $10. Final sale is about $36, and my profit is $25. I've sold a lot of these, and this is what it all got started. So, say you have an old rusty clunker like this one that I had. You add Victor's Vintage parts, and you can have a show-worthy car that will be the envy of the neighborhood. So, let's talk about my production process. So I learned 3D modeling here at IU, and I applied those skills into reverse engineering. I test fit the parts onto the cars, and I made sure that I was using materials that would exceed the customer's expectations. I started out actually using IU's 3D printing lab, And in just 3 months, I was able to purchase a high-end 3D printer of my own. And in just 1 year, I now have 3 running around the clock to keep up with demand. So my go-to-market is I take requests from the community, what do people need, and I research how many more people need that, and I come up with an initial cost to that first customer that's proportional to the demand. And then I add it to my catalog for anyone else who might need it. My main sales channel, eBay, and then Etsy, my own website through Shopify, and Facebook Marketplace. So I've got this set up for B2B and B2C. Custom fabrication is necessary. If you take your car into another business, a shop, they have to fix it. And often what they're going to do is some sort of bodge job. They're going to put screws where screws don't belong. They're going to put glue where glue should never be. So I'm partnering with one of the largest Cadillac parts distributor on the internet, aside from Cadillac themselves, called Caddy Daddy, and already have deals with 2 lowrider shops in California that have physical brick and mortar locations taking customers every day. Let's look at the profits. So I started in 2025. I've made about 450 sales in the last year, grossing around 45 grand and profiting about 30. That's all done with 0 paid ads. And in the future, I'd like to continue making small batch parts that exceed the customer's expectations and give them the peace of mind that they're finishing that puzzle the way that it was meant to be finished. And I really want to expand in the B2B sector. It's proven to be very successful and much more profitable. So that's my main focus right now. And more models of cars. There's cars that are getting older every day, and parts are running out. And merchandise. I already know what car these people drive. Let's upsell them with a business card holder or a hex bit socket set that organizes their tools. Or wall art that you can magnetize your keychain that's shaped like the wheel of your car onto the wall and keep a little piece of your car with you even when you're not with it. So in the future, my latest obsession is the 2004 to 2006 Pontiac GTO, of which I've owned 2 in the last couple months. More cars like it, and I've already made parts for this one. My micro ask today is, when people walk into a brick and mortar store, they often cannot find parts for their old cars. So how can I get my products on the catalogs of O'Reilly Auto Parts, Advance, AutoZone, and other big distributors that supply those mom and pop shops that you see down the street? So I really appreciate your time. Thank you. I'd like to open up for questions.
So this is awesome because this is clearly a passion. You exude a couple of things that are unmissable. You love cars, and you love spending all the profits in your business on cars. So that's kind of exciting. My sort of takeaway here is, how do you get scale in this? I'm not worried about distribution. What you do is unique. You're doing polymers only today, I imagine. You'll get into metals? You'll print metals at some point?
Absolutely, and fiberglass is going to be my biggest expansion once I'm out of an apartment. That's
right.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more how you're thinking about scale. I mean, you have the quintessential sort of key person risk in this business. It's in your head, it's in your networks, it's in your heart. How do you find 10 more people whose heart pops out of their chest the same way yours does, that has the same sort of technical fluency, the same stubborn passion, and the same modern compute skills and development skills to say, I can take something that's 35 years old, reverse engineer it, design it, and then print it out of a polymer printer?
Absolutely. So my first step I've already been working on, and it's going to be outsourcing a lot of that production and a lot of that shipping. That takes a lot of my time, and playing to our strengths of a team of me, I would really like to be focusing on the designing, the developing of new products, and feeling out the market to know what people want, traveling to places to talk to real people who are putting immense amounts of money into a car like that, and see what can be expanded there by having other people take the not my strength work off of my plate.
Thank you for your presentation. So this is actually the space that I'm in. My company is in the automotive industry with parts and chemicals and accessories, and I can say that it's interesting because there's like a company called Vintage Parts. They keep all old parts. You talk about things like O'Reilly and AutoZone, and I would just tell you steer clear. Like that's big retail, and the way that they work is you need to have a lot of inventory, and they pay you after they scan, and they pay you in 120 days after they sell it. Like, it's just a different business model. I think there's definitely, I have an old VW bus, and I struggle to find parts, and so I find folks that can actually machine them, or they can 3D print them. I think what you've got is a niche for where parts don't readily exist. I think there's a few challenges. One is, you're right, on the internet it's hard to find parts. Now, what's beautiful is you can get the engineering diagrams for all past cars. It's part of law. You can obtain all of that information. You could put it into some sort of LLM, now have access to everything. And then as a customer might have an issue, you could probably pull that exact print and print on demand whatever that challenge might be for old VWs or whatever it might be. It's kind of pick the niche that you want to be in. Another story is I have a friend who's, he travels around in a small bus and he goes to all the RV campsites. RV replacement parts are impossible. They take a long time. Camping World doesn't have them. You've got to call the OEM. You're 6 months later. He makes a couple $100,000 a year just 3D printing RV and pontoon boat replacement parts. So maybe thinking a little bit more broadly is if you want to be in the niche replacement part business, what has enough demand and volume where you could be more lucrative than just some of the pimp my ride stuff? So I'm happy to talk to you. I mean, we get into things all the time where we're looking for a part, we can't find it. So I'd be happy to have a conversation.
I would love to hear more about that.
This is my space,
I really appreciate
so it's
that.
interesting.
Absolutely.
It's hard to make money in it, though.
Yes, I have looked, since I'm from northern Indiana, right next to Elkhart, the RV capital of the world. Absolutely, yes. I have definitely seen also golf cart parts, but pontoon boats and RV parts have been something that I'm very much looking into, and even adapting some of the existing parts for cars, such as LED strips and stuff like that. So it's on my radar, but that definitely encourages me to look into it further. I appreciate that.
Victor, do you cruise Kirkwood at all?
Guilty as charged. You will hear me coming, indeed.
He's gonna put a car up on the Von Lee roof. That's what he's gonna do. Victor, good job.
Thank you so much.
Okay, 2 more to go. We had a debate yesterday during dress rehearsal whether Sid needed the microphone. We're gonna make him use it. But Sid, come on up.
Sure. My name is Sid Akoya, and today I'm presenting Viper, the hedge fund for concert tickets. Let's talk about a market and a story we all know about. Kalshi and Polymarket, 2 giants that appeared out of thin air. And just this past year, they did $44 billion in volume. What started as picking who was going to be the next president, who was going to be the next mayor in New York City, has turned into a financial asset class. Wall Street Titans, Susquehanna, they're going in and spending millions of dollars hiring analysts, traders, building massive desks and teams to go in and trade these new assets. And what if I told you there was a market just like that, that Wall Street wasn't even looking at, that we've been studying for the last 3.5 years? Sorry about that. Hey, we'll wait before I talk about myself, but let's talk about concert tickets. They're tradable. Every single event that we've studied is a micro market. Whether it's Taylor Swift at MetLife Stadium, it doesn't perform the same way Jay-Z at Yankee Stadium does. And they're inefficient in nature. Some of the top spreads we've captured on some of these events are over 30%. There's no central clearinghouse. Mispricings persist in this industry. And demand is uncorrelated with the stock markets. Even if the markets are doing well, even if the markets are doing poorly, whether it's the S&P 500 drops 20% tomorrow, Harry Styles still sells out his 30 dates at Madison Square Garden. And what we've seen is it's scalable. Capital we have directly deploys into inventory. And we're able to turn these units over 4 to 6 times every year. And here's a little bit about me. I've been trading liquid markets since age 12, whether it was waiting outside of a Finish Line or a Foot Locker at 12 years old looking at supply and demand of the next limited edition Jordan sneakers, or it was going in and turn this into a wholesale operation as I got to high school. And that's where I got into sports cards as well. When COVID happened, I started digging through those old shoe boxes, seeing what Pokemon cards were in there, and turned that into a $250K operation where I was investing in sports cards, sealed boxes, trying to go in and build an advanced portfolio that could go in and get a return. And when I got to college, I ran into a problem. In a dorm room the size of a shoebox, I couldn't go in and stack cards up or shoe boxes. I started going into a different market. My hobby and passion for live events kicked in. And that's where I built Nexus Partners. We're a live event ticketing brokerage, and in the last 3.5 years, we've done $8 million in revenue at $2.2 million in gross profit. And coming into my senior year, I knew I wanted to solve the big pattern that happened over the last 8 years of my life. It was that there was no way to value these liquid markets. And that's where I came in and started Viper. And here's the issue. With concert tickets today, they trade like equities did in the 80s. It's like Wall Street in the 80s, where people are going around the stock exchange trying to figure out what's selling for this, what's the price for this, what's the value for this. And through all that chaos, the most successful traders were able to see through it all. They started building Bloombergs, unifying these pricing feeds into one place. And with tickets today, there's no tickers, no central price feed, there's no Bloomberg. And brokers today price based on gut feel and stale spreadsheets. And our competitors today are all reactive. In an industry where you need to be predictive and see the future, data telling you that volume spiked or prices have gone up in the past doesn't make a difference. And that's where Viper comes in. Right now, we're cross-platform, we're AI scored, and we're LP accessible. And Dr. K talked about the incredible Spine Sweat class, which was an experience this semester. Coming in, I knew what I wanted to build, but I didn't know how to go in and build it. I had a vision, but not a path. And that's where Spine Sweat gave us a path to go in and build our own Bloomberg terminal. Right now, we're up to 400,000 listings across 7 different marketplaces that we're monitoring, over 56,000 deals detected across 258 different events, and we tracked 7,800 sales just today. And here's our validation. We got 3 layers of proof. First, it was building the platform, realizing that there was a market out there where things were undervalued and some listings were overvalued. And then we went in and brought in an outside operator to go in and validate our platform. Henry Tipping, one of our board of advisors, started using Viper and was able to turn his business from spending $350,000 on the secondary, and just this past month, he spent $750,000. Almost a double up in terms of spending and being able to deploy capital directly in inventory for profit. And when we realized this, we knew we built the product so good, giving it out to other people wasn't an option. And so we started training it with our own capital. On the Hillary Duff Tour, we'd average an 81% ROI on our secondary trades. And on the College Football Playoff National Championship, we did 31%. And here's our big sign that we knew we built that right product. Jay-Z at Yankee Stadium. In just 48 hours, Viper picked up the signal at hour 8 and was able to tell us that prices were spiking, volume was going up, fan demand was coming in after that first pre-sale. It was underpriced, and we spotted it. And over the next 24 hours to 30 hours after that, we saw volume spike 12.5x. We were able to turn over 6 figures in profit off of one single event with Viper. And that's when we knew we had it. We had built the product. And here's the product as it is today. Knowing that we want to use it for ourselves, right now the 2 acquisition channels we focus on are secondary markets, Ticketmaster offers. Viper takes that data in, synthesizes it, gets us those top scores, and then we go in and sell that inventory at some of the lowest rates in the industry. Our competitors are batting at 15%, and we're at 6.42% with our relationships that we've been able to gather. And we hope to recycle 80% of that capital. And so let's talk. My name is Sid Kolya, and I'm looking for intros to any engineers or traders, be able to go in and understand the hedge fund market. Thank you, guys.
Great presentation. I love your energy. How are you taking into consideration, with the prevalence of bots, how are you taking into consideration how the presence of those bots either heavily inflates or just can misconstrue your forecasting for some of these sales?
So bots are kind of on the primary side of the business, and really it comes into, we position ourselves on the secondary side, and so on the primary side of business, bots have been a big problem, and some of the legislation that has come out has tried to put an end to it. But when we come on the secondary side to acquiring inventory, a lot of the inventory we're buying is already in fans' hands or brokers' hands, and then we're forecasting on the secondary and kind of making that investment after that inventory has already been purchased from the initial kind of like sale date.
So can you just walk me through this, just so I'm clear? So your technology layer is going through like a StubHub or something like this. You're looking at all the secondary marketplaces. You're doing an analysis based on whether it's high or low. If it's low, you're actually physically going in and purchasing as many of those tickets that you can because you're foreseeing a spike.
Yeah, so kind
And
of.
how do you hedge that? What's the hedge of the hedge fund there? It looks like you're trying to buy low and hope.
Yeah, and so kind of the whole hedge fund idea came in terms of giving investors, bringing institutional capital into an industry that's never been kind of like seen before in terms of, in the industry, like marketplaces have gone in and raised capital, but directly investing into concert tickets itself has been a little bit kind of never been done before, and so that's where the hedge fund, it kind of came in from. But on the infrastructure side, we have proprietary data sales feeds that right now we have SeatGeek, Game Time, StubHub, and Ticketmaster. And so using those sales feeds that we have and our valuation technology, we're able to go in and then A, go in and get really accurate valuations, but then B, on the kind of like scraping data side, we get the listing feeds kind of also lower seller fees, lower buy fees when it comes to marketplaces like StubHub. And so through these kind of relationships and experience we've had in the industry, we've built up an edge in terms of A, our valuation is really good, but then B, we have the relationships to drop our fees lower to be able to go in and arbitrage.
How stable are those data feed relationships? Because that's the must be true in this business. So what is the chance they get pissed at you guys, they turn you off, and then what happens to Viper?
So it's interesting with the data sales feed relationships, we really kind of consider this too, because right now the longest term relationship we've had is for over 3 years, but there's always kind of like different vendors and things like that in the space, and right now we have really good relationships going through all the conferences I've been going since kind of year one of starting this business. But we have kind of redundancies built up where we're working on getting our own internal sales data feed using kind of scraping technology we have as a backup. But then also we're creating more relationships in the space, talking to different vendors and providers to have a backup plan in case plan A backfires.
That's great. I want to go back though. So have you lost a bet yet?
Yeah, we've.
Okay, because I don't know, it's like a fish story, right? Like you're showing us the big fish. Like what were the ones that lost and how, because there is no hedge to it. There's no backside. You're not like having an option or something on the other side. You're hoping the screener says you're low, it's going to go high. What happens when you lose a bet? The fund just absorbs it and you make it over multiple trades?
So kind of the biggest thing is when we purchase that inventory and get it in, we're actively looking at kind of how is the market performing in real time, calculating that valuation every 15 minutes to see how it's kind of moving up and down. Our biggest thing is some of the big losers we've had is honestly the Rose Bowl. We bought tickets up kind of earlier in the year, and prices as we got closer to the event, people aren't going to be flying in last minute to Los Angeles, especially from Indiana. And so it turned into kind of Alabama fans weren't also flying out either. And so it turned into a little bit of a chaos. But the thing is we kind of caught that 7 days before the event when we saw fan demand was really kind of watering down, and it had spiked at a certain point. You could see the clear trend where we were losing like 15%, 16%, then 20% on some of the trades we made. And that's when we knew kind of the sign was to cut it off and sell these tickets back. And it's like, with our business, we try to keep kind of the big losers really low and keep the wins really high when it comes to turning over constantly.
Good job, Sid. Okay, we're down to the final one. And I'm just going to give you a quick shout out, Eli. Remember how at the top of the day I said the students built this program? Eli was one of my first hires. So this is a nice bookend moment, I think. Can you help me in welcoming Eli?
Thank you. How is the vibe, everyone? Woo! Vovi is the Duolingo for vibe coding. We teach the non-technical founders and builders how to use AI to build real software without any coding or CS knowledge. Let me tell you a bit about myself. My name is Eli. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Vovi. I've been programming since I was 9 years old, going to the library each weekend and picking out a new coding book. I've won awards from the US Navy for creating encryption algorithms that I built in high school, and I've wrote code that has gone into low-orbit space payloads. My co-founder, Jack, here in the crowd today, he's afraid of code, and he's never written a line, of code in his life. He graduated from the Kelley School of Business. But we share two things in common. We've both been previously VC-backed founders, where the traditional means of creating a startup means you would spend months, thousands of dollars, and hiring a dev team just to test an MVP into a market, and it may not fare how you like. We saw this over and over again while mentoring over 200 student founders within IU Innovates. Last year, something changed. Vibe coding was the biggest shift the world has ever seen in software development or startup formation, and we knew we had to teach it. So what is the vibe? You may have heard of vibe coding, but you still don't really understand. It's simple. We take a lovely idea, in this case, Indiana University Football Highlight Center, and AI does all the coding, the design, all the security checks, and publishing the live software for you without you writing any piece of code. And you get a result that looks like this. Pretty nice. But here's what's not vibing. Vibe coding was meant for the 99% of people, literally all of you in this room, the non-technical founders, the builders, the salespeople, the marketing, creatives, and builders. Yet, right now, only 1% of you have started using these tools today. We have the initial users that try these tools out, they get burnt and feel like AI is not meant for them. We also have the people that are buying 5 Mac Minis with OpenClaw, and honestly, they don't know what they're doing either. So here's what's not vibing, the current coding curriculum. Right now, if you were to search what is vibe coding and how do I learn, you're gonna be met with old, outdated programming courses that teach you basically just syntax. And now with an ever-changing AI field with new models, new tools, and new resources, it feels like people are being left out. And we all see it and we all hate it. It's the AI slop. And it just comes down to poor prompting. But also even uglier bills that we see due to ineffective prompting, which is exactly why we made Vovi, the AI teaching and co-pilot that teaches anybody how to build websites, mobile apps, enterprise-grade solutions, and their own e-commerce stores. We borrowed the same philosophy from Duolingo, where you learn through educational content that teaches you everything from the basics of what is a prompt, what is a UI, how do I design a website, and how do I publish it securely with a backend database. Along the way, you can get fun, short knowledge quizzes that you can actually get LinkedIn certifications for. We also emphasize in our whole philosophy of teaching is learning by building, where we teach users how to actually prompt with live prompting and output exercises like the one above. We are now shifting over into enterprise with our latest product called Vovi Go. Vovi Go is a browser extension that plugs into all of the AI tools, whether it's Lovable, Base44, Rourke, V0, you name it, we're right there just like Grammarly. And what we do is simple. We take your initial prompt, and it could be as short as just like the one above, and we take all of our educational and our learning content, and we expand your prompt to fill in all the gaps. This saves both tokens, time, and gets you to your product faster. And we've been vibing. Last fall, we won $150,000 from a national student pitch competition and VC backing. Our users have completed nearly 3,000 lessons on our platform, and I checked this morning, and we've already surpassed the numbers up here. We now have over 1,600 builders on our platform, and we're generating revenue close to 10K ARR. Now let's talk about our market. We're first going after the non-technical student founders within the US, the 82,000 builders. From there, we want to increase into AI literacy within the K-12 education space. And then beyond that, in the global market, we want to expand to all global builders and teaching AI literacy within workplaces. Now, how do we get to our market? Well, we take every chance we can, and we talk to our users. We bring the vibes with us, whether that's being in Times Square with our billboard or taking over Austin's South by Southwest event where we met Gary Tan. We also know how to market online with UGC, user-generated content, and founder-led growth with media which has garnered over millions of impressions towards our platform. My micro ask today is getting intros to founders, operators, investors to have experience with AI, tapping into EdTech and enterprise B2B SaaS to help support Vovi's next chapter in going to market for education and enterprise sales and our upcoming seed investment. In the words of Todd Wagner today, technology is always like a freight train moving down a hill. There is no stopping it, which is exactly why we need to be teaching AI literacy and vibe coding with Vovi. Thank you.
Have you had, can you talk about some success stories of people that have used this and what they've used it to build then?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
I helped a non-technical founder within the Bloomington ecosystem that is currently doing health tech or healthcare that basically allows family givers to become certified caregivers for their families and loved ones. They were doing everything on daily notes. Thousands of notes every single day that have to be completely certified and compliant with the state. So that way insurance doesn't get mad. I showed him how to basically build his own software up to that standard within just a few weeks using our education and online tools like Lovable. And now he's saving hundreds of thousands of dollars because he's not having to pay more employees to go through these documents. So that was a really fun success kind of story that I personally led.
So he actually has a software that he's now using.
Yeah.
That he created himself.
Yep.
And what type of technical level did that person need to have? And,
nothing. And
really?
that's the beauty of this.
Just really just asking questions.
Yeah.
And
so it comes down to knowing the fundamentals, and that's where we come into play. The AI capabilities are so strong. They're only limited by what you tell it to do. And for most people, they don't know what to tell it. So that's why with our education, teaching where they don't know anything about software and how to scale it and design that architecture, it really propelled him to do so.
I think you crushed that. You used those 6 minutes better than I could have possibly imagined. So that was really well done. This is a massive opportunity. It's not a zero-sum business whatsoever. I love the analogy to Duolingo. Duolingo started small, started quirky, became massive. It's a huge public company now. So I love that you're setting your sort of beacon and your inspiration around something that's huge, that's global.
Thank you.
I think this business is uncapped in every possible way. I think it's all about execution at this point and how you get to scale and how you carve out your huge part of the market. Can you talk a little bit about pricing and business? I think the only thing that stood out to me was like 10K ARR. Why is this not 1,000 times higher than that today, even with your 1%?
Yeah, I agree. I wish it was higher. So we charge $30 per month for our Learn, and then now we're priced Vovi Go at $10 a month. So we've been doing a bunch of go-to-market. We see a lot of churn, which is common in consumer apps. So now that's why with Vovi Go, we're actually rolling this out for enterprise teams, so that way all of their employees are now technical more sufficient, and they get AI observability for their whole teams. So hopefully with those enterprise sales, we can see a lot more revenue. We are seeing great user growth, but I think a lot of users, there's a lot of educating in this space. They hear a lot of stuff. There's also this kind of like Dunning-Kruger effect where they think they understand, and then they get themselves in a trap, and then they just stop. And we need to be there now with Vovi Go to help them and pick them back up.
Yeah, I think one of the most important educational things they're doing is that prompt re-engineering. That is so important and so undertended to by all the big platforms that are happy to let you waste tokens, happy to let you waste money. That in itself is a huge opportunity to just raise the tide for everybody else using these tools.
Yes, I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, I echo the same comments. I think this is incredible. I think there's so much pent-up demand. Not to get into what's next, because I think there's enough opportunity just right here, but have you thought about doing other sorts of training modules? And so you think about like Claude Code or Claude Cowork, or I have a theory that I think that mid-market tech like ERP systems are going to be struggling in the future because those mid-market companies can start deploying their own capabilities of coding in-house.
Yep.
And I've seen really cool tech being built by non-tech people. And so I look at the B2B space where how do we start to, mid-market businesses are struggling to learn how to use AI.
Correct.
Every company around the country is trying to talk about it more than just chat GPTing something, right? And so I think to crack the code into how do we get non-technical leaders to learn technical tools so they can be more efficient for their business could also be another really cool opportunity.
I agree. Right now there is some bit of saturation, like we saw OpenAI and Anthropic release billion-dollar consulting companies to basically put their tooling with consulting into small medium businesses. So we have to be a little bit creative there. But I think they're not doing it in this form factor. We've talked to HR and chief of staffs. That's who has the biggest pain point right now. It's not the CTOs. It's the HR that has to teach teams of 100. And right now there is no curriculum for the workplace. So we're looking into like Salesforce learning packages where we can be a form factor inside of there, and companies can easily buy it and then install it into the organization. But of course, we're going to listen to our users and see where we can get in.
Are you well capitalized right now? Are you well capitalized? Do you have cash to grow? To put
we are looking to fundraise some more this summer. Happy to share more details.
Good answer.
There's no better way to end it. Thank you, Amish.
Thank you all. Thank you.
So we did it. Thank you all so much for being here. Can you all help me give a round of applause to our panelists? So we're going to find out later how many of you used the QR code to give feedback and suggested introductions to all the people you heard from today, and also all of our students in the back who have tables. This is the first time we're trying this. We're also eager to know, what can we do to improve? We're going to do this twice a year, once in the fall semester, and then at the end of year, embedded in the summit. So I think with that, John, would you like to send us off and tell us what we need to know for tomorrow?
Guys, everybody, on, hello, check. Congratulations to everybody, all the students, fantastic job. Again, thanks to our panelists. Todd, thank you for being here. Appreciate you hanging out with us today. So now here's where we go from here. So the tour for Memorial Stadium, you'll muster downstairs at Taliaferro Plaza. We will start that tour at 3:50, 4 o'clock. So go downstairs. If you're signed up for the Trades District tour, their shuttle will be in the same area, and there'll be some staff down there to direct you to the shuttle. And then we hope to see all of you tonight at Nick's at 6 o'clock. The first beer's on me. We got pizza and onion rings and all sorts of stuff coming. So we hope to see you at Nick's later tonight. Again, congratulations to all of our students. Look forward to, I hope you enjoy the tours, and we'll see you at 6 o'clock for Nick's. And then we'll be back in Alumni Hall tomorrow at 8:45 to start day 2 of the summit. Go Hoosiers!